The Telegraph, the front pages.
Yes.
38-day holidays, the rail unions are now demanding.
Yeah, so this is the Transport and Salaried Staffs Association. It's one of 3 unions that met the Department of Transport yesterday for talks about pay. Obviously, the ministers have signed off on this 14% increase for train drivers last week. Be calm, Angela, over that massive pay rise for as somebody who gets on the train a lot only to find it's cancelled or they can't find a driver or all the other things that go on about it. Or once I had to get off the train, everybody had to get off because the windscreen wiper broke. Thank you, Avanti. West Coast. Anyway, so now, on top of everything else, they have requested 38 days off per year for their 35-hour-a-week members. Now, most employees work a 5-day week, receive at least 28 days, which sounds pretty regular to me. I mean, I'm self-employed, so, you know, and any freelancer will tell you it's hard to kind of measure this notion of taking time off.
Sounds about right.
But 35 days is, what is that, 7 weeks?
We shouldn't mix up delays with people's working conditions.
Well,
those two things aren't linked, are they? The delays aren't down to drivers.
Because if they're taking a disproportionate amount of holiday compared to everybody else...
That's down to the management to organise that, to make sure that there are enough drivers to cover holidays.
But drivers will also know that the way that the system works. I think it is a barefaced cheek after relentless strikes which have put the British public into an arm-locked position. We are the
Aren't they striking over conditions? So these conditions would stop the strikes?
They are striking principally over pay. Some of the strikes were about the automisation. Is that the right word?
Automation.
Automation.
Making driverless trains effectively getting to that stage.
But I think some of the rail services in this country are so utterly appalling, and it is absolutely astonishing that they have the temerity to ask for this disproportionately large pay increase.
I don't get 38 days off a year, Marvyn. I don't know if you do.
No, but I do think that it's an offer, isn't it? It's about them saying that this is what we want, and it allows the government to meet them somewhere. And I think the initial asks are always higher and slightly more absurd than they probably are going to land at. The good thing is that Labour are at the table negotiating for most unions at the moment to catch up with how far behind much of these people are receiving in terms of pay and benefits, which is a good thing, and it will reduce the strikes, which then reduces the problems that we're currently facing around the strikes.
Yeah, ASLEF have announced
Labour came forward with 15%. A lot of us, I think a lot of people, gasped at 15%, but it hasn't stopped the strikes. There are still strikes coming in.
Coming up to a permanent long-term solution that matches the rate of inflation and matches the actual long-term ambitions of the employees that they actually need to live and look after their family will prevent strikes, because the conditions will be better and there'll be less things to strike for. I think I'm very much for holding account of people who abuse unions and start to throw their weight around and be bullying. But as far as I'm concerned, they probably haven't had the appropriate pay increases and condition changes in the last 15 years.
They earn already about £60,000 a year, train drivers.
It's a highly technical job, isn't it?
I'm not suggesting for a minute, but so is being a junior doctor, who I know have now been given this pay rise. Look at what nurses earn. OK, so that's a whole different conversation about how public funds, how the taxpayers' purse is being distributed. But ASLEF have just signed off on 3 months of weekend strikes, which is going to devastate the transport system. And we have no choice.
I just want to ask Graeme, Graeme, in Birmingham, do you get a sense from your readership of where sympathies lie now with train drivers, with people who work on the railways?
We rarely are contacted by people who are sympathetic of anyone who's striking. All that said, they're all people who benefit from strikes. If you don't, if you just allow your employer to do whatever they like, you're not going to be getting any extra days holiday or 35 hours a week. With regard to this, the 35 hours a week doesn't seem unreasonable. I don't know anyone who gets 38 days holiday as a matter of course, and it's concerning. I think Marvyn's right. I think it's great that this discontent is being brought to an end. All that said, having lots and lots of extra days annual leave on the table in general when we've got a productivity crisis in the country is concerning to me. I hope that they're able to fix this, but I highly doubt that we become more productive. By giving people 38 days holiday a year.
I mean, this is the challenge, isn't it, guys? Labour are saying, Rachel Reeves is saying, this is all about growth. We need growth. Without the growth, we don't get the tax income. We don't get to cover the bases in terms of all the things we want to spend for. If we are giving people longer holidays. They are therefore productive for fewer days. We're not going to get that.
Yeah,
growth,
but the challenge is that many generations have been misled in terms of the idea of working hard will equate to a higher quality of life. And all the people that worked hard have had their pensions values being reduced. They can't afford to buy homes. The actual cost of living has gone through the roof. So people are working harder, but they haven't got a better quality of life. So the productivity shift is about aligning to the actual money that they're receiving and the value of their money in the marketplace, making much more sense. So if you're not going to pay us more, then allow us to work less, and then that actually equates to what it is that we actually should be getting. And I think the question that people are now posing post-pandemic, the government and most other businesses haven't woken up to there's been a massive psychological shift in people who no longer want to commit everything to working for this idea of a future that has never come for now generations of people.
I mean, it is the middle of a negotiation. And if you can't get the pay rise because the money just isn't there, the other way to do this is say, well, OK, you'll just get less of me.
No, I think they need to ban strikes in...
Nice.
Well, first of all, the police aren't allowed to strike.
They're an emergency service.
Well, I'm sorry, but train drivers cripple an entire network. There is no... Yes, you can go by road and all the other things.
Then please pay them.
Because you can't get on a train, you can't drive the train yourself. And I think there are better ways to negotiate than striking. Much better ways to negotiate.
If it happens, with all due respect, the last government wasn't negotiating, and it definitely wasn't negotiating in a fair way.
Labour are enthralled to the unions. If you read this week about the number of MPs whose campaigns were supported by union money...
All for relatively small sums, compared to the amount of money that comes from industry to the Tory party.
Quite possibly.
Talking about billions, and very often then linked to contracts that came from that government.
OK, but that ship has sailed. OK, we understood...
No, it hasn't. We're still trying to get the money back.
The ship has sailed in the sense that, OK, we had 40... How many times can we sing the song 14
Until
years
we get the money back.
OK, that's gone. What I'm saying is that we now have a government only how many weeks in? 7 weeks?
6 weeks in,
already showing itself absolutely enthralled to the unions.
OK.